Revenge can be sweet, but sometimes sweet things get you cavities. And that's what the Rams got yesterday in Philadelphia, wanting it so bad and then watching it slip between their fingers.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Watch out there now. It is your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On NFL Barbershop Show that comes on here second after the Madman here on the Locked On NFL Network. Tyler Rowland waking you up each and every morning. Make sure you check him out. We're here to navigate through the afternoon version of the show with the help of Julian Council from Locked On Panthers. And he's always here with me on a Monday. And this is always fun during the season because the stories just write themselves. So we'll use the help of local experts from around the network that's going to help us keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on with each one of these teams. Shout out to the everydayers that join us. We appreciate you joining us here. And you know you can find every episode wherever you get your podcast, whether you watch them or listen. Please make sure you tap in each and every day so you don't miss an episode like the one today that is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. We're going to move through this show right now. I'm going to tell you what me and Julian were going to talk about. We're going to end up talking about how the Falcons got absolutely embarrassed in front of Julian and everybody else in Carolina and what that means for them. Now, I think some pink lips might be getting warmed up a little bit if you ask me. The Cowboys go out bad in Chicago. You think they could use a pass rusher? They got slaughtered yesterday by Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. We'll discuss Dallas, but we're going to start at the very top with the Eagles and how that championship DNA is showing up again. These teams that always seem like they have this luck, man, it just seems like once you win a championship, a la the Patriots, a la the Chiefs, they just always find a way, Julian, to pull out games that they have no business winning.
Yeah, and that was certainly the case, you could say, on Sunday, but I do place a lot of the blame on Los Angeles. The amount of field goal attempts that they had in that first half in particular, you can't end drives against a team as good as Philadelphia on the road by settling for field goals. And Jordan Davis, who had that game-winning field goal block return for a touchdown, Charlotte's very own Jordan Davis, mind you, he talked about in the press conference that they had been able to see the angles and the trajectory of the kick from the Rams kicker, and they blocked the one previously in that quarter. So because LA kicked so many field goals in that day, Philadelphia knew it was coming, and they got that block. So, yeah, maybe don't settle for field goals, and you're not in a situation where you're having to kick one, and a team knows exactly where you're going to kick it, what height it's going to be at, and they're able to get that block and return it for a score. I mean, the Eagles are reigning Super Bowl champs. They have not looked their best, I suppose, the first 3 weeks of the season, and they're 3-0.
How bad is it for Rams fans? We'll get to them in a minute, but I want to hear Lou DiBiase because Lou been telling us all off season that everything about Philadelphia right now is the best in NFL history, not just Eagles history, but the best in NFL history. He was happy as he could be yesterday. Check this out.
Ladies and gentlemen, the breakout is here. This was the Jordan Davis game. The Philadelphia Eagles complete an insane comeback over the Los Angeles Rams. And man, do we have to talk about the passing game coming alive in the second half. -1 in the passing yard category. The first half, over 200 in the second half. Jalen Hurts putting this team on his back, leading the way, the wake-up call they needed. But I got to talk about Jordan Davis. 3 straight turnovers to keep the Eagles in this football game. A 4th-and-1 stop by JD. He helped Jalen Carter block that first field goal. And then the game-winning blocked field goal that he takes back for a touchdown after blocking the field goal himself. I'm taking back everything I've said about JD. Thank God he used that Peloton this offseason because he took over this football game in so many different ways. The Dexter Lawrence Vita Vea breakout that we've all been hoping JD would find. Ladies and gentlemen, it's here. And somehow the Eagles are 3-0.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I saw you laughing when I was laughing. He said the Jordan Davis breakout. Shout out to Louis and shout out to the fact that Jordan is from Charlotte, and that makes you happy too along the way. But the
Oh
Rams,
yeah.
what does this have to feel like? I compared it to Baltimore. Like Baltimore they wanted to get the Bills back so bad, and then they go up there the first game of the year, and they're leading the game, and then all of a sudden the bottom just falls out with 7 minutes left, and they lose. This is the same situation. People don't remember that the Rams were on the 20-yard line. They could have kept the Eagles from going to the Super Bowl, but no. Incompletion. They go out and get Devontae Adams, a dude that can catch those balls and help Puka Nacua. And then they have this game in full control, and it's like they're ready to flex. And then all of a sudden, championship DNA kicks in, bottom falls right back out.
Yeah, I think you also have to give a lot of credit to Philadelphia defensively, because when you look at what the Rams did on Sunday, they only had 2 plays over 15 yards. There's that 44-yard touchdown to Devontae Adams in the first half, and then Puka Nacua had a 20-yard reception as well, and he had a great day. But when you don't have a ton of explosive plays, you make them go down the field methodically. You do have times where eventually, as good of a defense that Philadelphia is, you're able to get off the field and force the field goals that they did on Sunday. I still think the Rams are a really good team. I honestly, like, that's the Super Bowl team for me this year. And when I was looking at the score being in the press box there in Carolina, I was like, oh, well, there it is. They're up 26-7, whatever it was. Yeah. And I was feeling pretty good about my thoughts about the Rams being that Super Bowl contender this season and coming out of the NFC and hoisting Lombardi Trophy for the second time with that Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford pairing. And I still feel good about this team. They lost Philadelphia on the road. It happens. That's probably what should be the expectation anyways. You don't expect it to happen the way that it happened on Sunday, but it did. I'll just say this too. What an incredible witching hour that we had there at the end of the 1 o'clock window on Sunday. Because I'm sitting in there in the press conference room waiting for Dave Canales to come to that theater. And I'm sitting next to the guy who's the Fox director here in Charlotte. And he's a big Eagles guy. And we're just watching the game on the phone and just watching what's happening in that game, the Jets game, and them finding a way to lose again. I mean, what else is going on at that one? It was the Jets.
The Jaguars. It was 10-10. Jacksonville. It was 10-10 with 3 minutes to go. Yeah. Crazy.
Jacksonville is going on. I mean, there are some weeks in the NFL that are complete duds, but then you get Sundays, especially when the 1 o'clock games are all finishing, like the one we had on Sunday, highlighted by this game, and it's like, man, it's hard to find something just as good as those like 20 minutes that we had there between like 3:40 and 4 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, well, the Rams people think it could have gone differently because the Rams fans feel like they ate a biscuit and didn't have no water. Because check this out from Locked On Rams.
Look, I hate to use the C word, but let's call it what it is. The Rams choked away a golden opportunity to prove to the league that they are the best team in the NFC. They had the defending Super Bowl champions at their house on the ropes. The Rams were up 19. They dominated Philadelphia in the first half, and then Philly down 19 points, scored 26 unanswered points, and the Rams lose. The Rams just could not get the big play late. Devontae Adams drops what would have been a massive touchdown. Josh McCarty gets not one, but 2 field goal kicks blocked. One that would have been a walk-off that I predicted on Friday's show, so I'm even more upset. They go 3 for 10 on third down. The Rams held the Eagles to 33 yards in the first half, and they gave up 255 in the second half. Secondary got torched. This one hurts. And now it feels like the Eagles are becoming what the 49ers used to be, a team that Sean McVay needs to prove he can beat.
Yeah, shout out to Jalen Hurts, too, for playing way better in the second half. And, I know it hurts so good for the Rams to be losing this game the way they did it. But I think we'll see both of these teams down the line. We've got all the meat off this bone real quick. I need to turn my attention to the Dallas Cowboys. And I saw Jordan Lewis in Jacksonville for the first 3 weeks just look like the second coming of Earl Thomas or somebody, right? And you know how good Michael Parsons is. And I'm just sitting there wondering if old Kenny Clark is helping the Cowboys out as much as Jerry thought he would. We'll get to them in just a second here on Locked On NFL.
Oh, come on.
All right, today's show brought to you by Prize Picks. The daily fantasy app, we're making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. I had Travis Etienne to get 59.5 yards today, and I think he got 58. That's on me. If I had gone more, I'd have some money in my pocket. But that's okay because I get a good chance next week. And you can too. All you got to do is download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. It's Prize Picks. It's always good to be right. Monday wouldn't be Monday if we didn't get a chance to pick at the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones, of course, traded away Michael Parsons, did not re-sign Jordan Lewis, who's thriving and looking like a first-team All-Pro in Jacksonville. And that defense, man, they looked putrid against the Giants, giving up 37 last week. And that continued yesterday against the Bears, who couldn't get out of their own way prior to yesterday's game. Here's Landon McCool from Locked On Cowboys.
Cowboys get absolutely destroyed in Chicago on the backs of CeeDee Lamb injury and historically bad defense. Hi, I'm Landon McCool with the Locked On Cowboys podcast, and in what felt like an inflection point on the entire 2025 season, the Dallas Cowboys get absolutely embarrassed in Chicago. And obviously, you know, the offense had some major contributions. They were unable to throw the ball down the field, especially after CeeDee Lamb went out, despite having an incredible average yards per carry and a lot of success in the run game. They had to give it up because of what was absolutely historically bad, embarrassing defense. The Cowboys' defense was unable to stop Caleb Williams at all. At one point, he was averaging well over 11 yards a play, not a carry. 11 yards a play. And the Dallas Cowboys have a lot of questions about the rest of the season, especially their defense getting out of this game. For more on this, make sure you check us out of the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'll check in with CeeDee Lamb and his injury. We'll see if the Cowboys have any answers at all for this historically bad defense and this embarrassing loss.
When is Gerald going to learn, man? When is he going to learn, brother? And they look really, really bad right now. And Dak actually looks really, really good. They can't blame this on Dak Prescott. This is all about the Dallas Cowboys and their defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's even more so highlighted from the first 2 weeks of how the Bears played on offense, understanding that Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, very early in this new partnership, but they looked completely inept on Monday Night Football against the Vikings, who have one of the best defenses in the entire National Football League. The week after that, looked completely inept against the Detroit Lions, who also have one of the better defenses in the NFL. But when they face against Dallas, do whatever they want. Caleb Williams looks like the number 1 pick, looks awesome. In Dallas right now, looking at True Media, 29th in defensive success rate, 31st in defensive EPA. They're bad, man. And Micah Parsons, yeah, he's gone, but they also have like Deron Bland injury. Just they do not look like a cohesive unit. And then Matt Eberflus, I mean, they got some problems there with him being the DC. And you look at the Bears defense over the last couple of years, that was supposed to be his calling card. They weren't great. And it's been a while since he was there with Frank Reich in Indianapolis with the Colts after Josh McDaniels left him at the altar.
Wow.
And he had a really good defense. But since that point in time, like, he really has not put together some good defensive units. And I'm questioning that hire by Brian Schottenheimer. And I saw Ed Werder of ESPN put out that Jerry Jones still believes that this is a playoff team. I saw that our Marcus Mosier of Locked On Cowboys was tweeting out, Jerry, they're not close. Please don't do something stupid.
Ooh.
Jerry's about to do something stupid. Just wait.
Yeah, that's what this is exactly what he does, man. And for me, man, it's just about it for me, the Dallas Cowboys is it's too much talk about Jerry. It's too much talk about, and we're doing it here, but we're doing it out of necessity. It's too much talk about what else he needs to do. And this, what Jerry needs to do is let somebody else run the team on a daily basis, because they say all attention is good attention. No, it is not. All attention is not a good attention. And this is not the type of attention you want, but it's the type of attention that you signed up for. Let's switch to another blue blood of the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their defense had not played as well early in the year as I thought they would, giving up 30 points in 2 straight games. They had another subpar team yesterday. They squeaked out a win, but a win is a win, and we're going to celebrate it anyway. They're 2-1. Here's my man, Chris Carter.
Hey everyone, Chris Carter here from the Locked On Steelers podcast with your post-game reaction to the Steelers' 21-14 win over the New England Patriots. The win for the Steelers was keyed by the defense. 5 forced turnovers, including a stop on a turnover on downs, 4th and 4th down to end the game. Brandon Echols with the pick and the stop on the 4th down. Cam Hayward with a forced fumble and a tip pass that led to Echols' interception. TJ Watt, 2 sacks in this game. The defense had been called out for the past 2 weeks in their poor play. They showed up in a huge way in this one. The Steelers' offense didn't have the best day, but they were efficient once they got in the red zone, scoring each time, putting 21 points on the board, including that last touchdown pass to Calvin Austin. By the way, Aaron Rodgers passing Brett Favre in the record in this game. We have a lot to talk about in this game. Has the defense figured something out? Can the offense learn from their mistakes early in the game? We'll talk about all that on the Locked On Steelers podcast. We'll see you there.
Things still aren't as smooth as I thought that they would be in Pittsburgh, but you look up and they're 2-1, and this is just kind of what Mike Tomlin does. Mike Tomlin finds a way to win football games.
Yeah, so far they have, even though like the Jets game left you probably not feeling so great if you're a Steelers fan, just because of just how much they gave up to the Jets defensively. And then week 2 against Seattle, had a couple of mistakes that really cost them in that game. Offense didn't look super fluid. And then on Sunday, like the defense, they bent, but they did not break. And a lot of that, I think, is just on New England, on Ramondre Stevenson, his fumble, Drake May, his poor decision-making, fumbling the ball, throwing the interception there before the half as well. And you get a win against a team that really is not that great. And yeah, maybe you've gone down to the wire against the dregs of the AFC East, but you still found a way to go out on top. Now, when you face off against, the better teams in the AFC East, like, the one good team they have, Buffalo, is probably not going to be a great day for the Steelers. But so far, 2-1, Aaron Rodgers staying healthy, be able to make a couple of plays when you need it. I mean, you take it early on this season. Like, because, hey, look around the league. There's plenty of teams that have had some tough luck that are in a bad spot at this point in time. And there's teams like Philadelphia that have somewhat gotten away with it. They're 3-0. Tampa Bay, another team that all their leads have come within like the last minute of the game. They're 3-0. Just find a way to win. It's a long season. All you got to do is try to stack wins, and they've been able to stack 2 so far this season. So you take that as a positive, absolutely, for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Julian, you were front and center yesterday when the fighting do-rags of the Atlanta Falcons showed up in Charlotte.
Ooh.
And they got manhandled. Bryce Young is 7-26 as a starter, but he's 3-1 against the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm laughing because I don't know what happened. I'm also laughing because it totally blew my parlay ticket, but I'm good with it because I just can't believe it happened. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to let you tell us, you and Aaron Freeman, y'all both you here, but he's not, but he's going to show up here in a little bit. We're going to let y'all tell us exactly what happened in that game yesterday in just a second here on Locked On NFL. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Mazda. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. That's who Mazda is. And there are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward was an interception late in the game that was caused by pressure and a tip ball from Josh Hines Allen that allowed the Jaguars to win 17-10. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is the only thing that is at the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to Mazda and their vehicles. Mazda, move and be moved. And today's show is brought to you and sponsored by our friends over at FanDuel. Y'all already know that when the NFL season is here, FanDuel is making sure you're ready to kick off with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Telling you, you can catch it at the beginning of the game, middle of the game, or even wait till almost at the end of the game and get your bets on, man. That's the way it is at FanDuel. So Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, Julian Council, what happened to the Atlanta Falcons yesterday? Did they just run into a buzzsaw, or are they as bad as we think they are?
Yeah, I thought from the very beginning it was just Atlanta making all the mistakes and Carolina just being the beneficiary of what I believe was a quintessential Atlanta Falcons performance on Sunday afternoon in Charlotte. Like, Michael Penix Jr. was off from the very beginning. Like, that first drive, I was looking around, I was like, oh, what is he trying to accomplish today? And like the interceptions, the pick six, horrible throw. Just he's scanning the field, just throws it out to the left way late and gets picked up by Shaw Smith-Wade. The other pick, his receiver kind of fell down, but I think that was going to be picked regardless, and that should have been a pick six. And Nick Gordon just blocked Michael Penix Jr., and yeah, he had a bad day. And I was actually looking at some of the numbers. He's only had 6 career starts so far in the NFL. But he had his worst EPA per drop back on Sunday. Go back a week ago against the Vikings, he had his second worst EPA per drop back. You have to go back to week 1 where he had his best one. So he's gone from having the best EPA per drop back in his career, granted only in 6 starts, to having the 2 worst performances of his career. Week 2 against the Vikings in a win, and in week 3 against the Panthers on the road. So a little concerning for the Falcons, but yeah, I thought a lot of that was just Atlanta. When they get rid of Younghoe Koo, their new kicker, John Parker Romo, misses 2 field goals, and then just special teams is a calamity overall. Like, they could not field a kickoff to save their lives. They had about 3, I think, drops. They had one time on a punt return where the guy, one of the ran right into the guy who was returning the ball. So yeah, rough look for Raheem Morris and for the Falcons coming to Carolina, a team that had started off 0-2, completely no-showed the first 6 quarters of the season, and they go out there and get blown out 30-0, the first Panthers shutout of an opponent since week 11 of 2020 season against the Lions.
And I thought Brian Callahan and Mike McDaniel were racing to pink slip finish line. Raheem Morris, he might be running right there with him if the Falcons keep playing like this. Listen to Aaron Freeman from Locked On Falcons.
It was an absolute no-show for the Atlanta Falcons in week 3 in their 30-0 loss to the Carolina Panthers. You know, I was flying high after last week's win against the Vikings, thinking, oh, you know, maybe the Falcons have turned a corner. Maybe they legitimately could be a good team. And the football gods were like, Aaron, you're a Falcon fan, my guy. Like, Earth, gravity, you need to come back down to Earth. And the Falcons, they brought me down so low. And that Earth hit so hard. They got completely annihilated in all 3 phases. Offense stunk. Penix throws 2 picks. Defense can't stop anybody. Bryce Young looks like a superstar against the Atlanta Falcons. Now we have seen that happen twice now in a row. Let's see if we can get it going later in the season. Special team stinks. Their new kicker, Parker Romo, misses 2 kicks. They can't even field a kickoff. It was all bad. It was terrible. And I hate the fact that the Falcons are going to make me have to talk about this terrible performance for the next few days on Locked On Falcons. But hey, if you want to hear more about this god-awful performance, come on, check out Locked On Falcons, all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
He says, I hate y'all for putting me in this situation. That sounds like your mom and your dad saying, this is going to hurt you, worse is going to hurt me. You know what I mean? Like, sure. Yeah, but the Falcons are in a little bit of trouble. Now is the time of the show, Julian, where, and one day I'm going to have you sitting in the seat and you're going to have to keep apologizing to Jet fans, right? But it ain't now. Because
when is that going to happen? That's never going to happen. It's never going to happen.
But I picked the Colts to finish dead last in the AFC South, and they're sitting there at 3-0. Nothing. There's nothing the Giants have done or haven't done that is a bigger indictment to Brian Daboll than what Daniel Jones is doing with the Indianapolis Colts. And he was at the podium yesterday, Locked On Colts, asked him a question, and he gave you an answer. Check this out.
Have you expected things to come down to earth a little bit, or it seems like there's really been no weak spot in the offense so far?
Yeah, I think we certainly expect to play at a high level. I think every time we step out there, every time we get the ball, you know, we expect to execute and go down the field and score. So, no, I don't think the expectation changes at any point, whether we're playing, you know, regardless of how it's going. So, yeah, I think that stays that way, and we'll see. There's still things we got to clean up and work on. I think still, some missed opportunities, things that weren't as sharp as they should have been, and we'll go back, look at that, and clean it up.
Everybody has all of these things to say about the Colts and Daniel Jones and why they're winning and why Jonathan Taylor looks like he's this year's Saquon Barkley. But the best explanation I've heard for what Daniel Jones has done this year is you. You have told me repeatedly, look at the Colts uniforms and look at the uniforms when he played at Duke, and they are identical. And that is the reason that Danny Dimes has turned back into Duke Danny.
It's the only reasonable explanation at this point in time, Wig. But yeah, he's been awesome. And again, another Charlotte guy. So we're just running the league right now.
Queen City just flexing all over.
Oh, but yeah, they've been awesome. Like, you look at it right now, the Colts are second in offensive EPA, according to True Media. They're first in success rate. Daniel Jones is number one in drop back per EPA, ahead of Josh Allen, the MVP from last year. And let me find the stats real quick, because looking at it, Jonathan Taylor has also been incredible. And that's the thing, like, Anthony Richardson, it did not work out. And it does not look like it's going to work out because of the way that Daniel Jones is playing. Duke Daniel Jones is back, y'all. Yeah. And you look around this offense, you have Jonathan Taylor. When he's been healthy, we know what he is as a running back in the league. Maybe people forgot because it's been such a calamity with the quarterback position, and in people questioning whether Shane Steichen is going to keep his job, whether Chris Ballard is going to keep his job. Of course, the passing of Jim Irsay, may he rest in peace. But they had Alec Pierce, They had Michael Pittman Jr. They had Josh Downs, and they had some solid defensive pieces. Like, this was not a bad roster. Just they had a glaring spot that was holding them back, and now a guy gets a fresh start with clearly a better offensive play caller in Shane Steichen. And now things have taken off early on. And you look at the division, which you're, of course, keenly aware of. Houston's 0-3. They got problems. And they weren't like a good football team last year. They just benefited off of that just being a bad division. The Titans, Brian Callahan, I don't know how he's employed, but whatever. And then Jacksonville, 2-1. I don't know how much belief there is across the league in the Jags as like a real contender in the AFC, but the only team I feel like at this point in time that's going to push Indianapolis is going to be the Jags. So they're in a good spot. And Daniel Jones has been great. I guess he can't be comeback player of the year because they got rid of the part of it where, you used to suck, now you're good, like Joe Flacco the one time, even though he's still throwing a bunch of picks. But that's a conversation for another day. Like, he's maybe MVP at this 3 weeks into the league, into the season. Like, he would be the MVP, which, 14 more games to go, 15 more weeks. Still need to see how this thing all plays out. But yeah, they've been maybe the story of the season, the way that has played out so far up in Indianapolis.
It's either those uniforms or it's Miss Irsay standing, or Ms. or Mrs. Irsay, the young Miss Irsay, standing on the sideline with her notepad, and maybe it's a little bit of all of that stuff that's going on. But I did not have Daniel Jones being the next Baker Mayfield on my bingo card, and I'm not saying that that's what he is already. But if he continues to play like that, he's going to get a massive contract extension, whether it's a mistake or not. What isn't a mistake?
And let me say this one more time, real quick, because I was listening to another podcast last week that had Diana Rossini on it, and she had talked to Saquon Barkley and was having a conversation about just Daniel Jones. And Saquon's like, trust me, this guy is good. She's like, but come on, man. Like, we've watched the games. Like, what is he? He's like, he can play. Like, the offense, because this was after Saquon left Philadelphia. He's like, there were so many problems with that offense in New York that were not his fault. And we see it a lot of times. We have this conversation, like, who fails? Is the quarterback failing the organization, or is the organization failing the quarterback? And Kevin O'Connell up in Minnesota, who, again, had Daniel Jones at the end of last season, has been adamant that for the most part, it's the organization failing the quarterback, which I think maybe is the case in Indianapolis, even with Anthony Richardson and how they went about the plan with him, and he got injured, all of that. But you're now seeing with New York, where they're still not getting it right, that maybe it was the Giants. Maybe it was Brian Daboll who failed Daniel Jones, and now he's in apparently a better situation, which I don't know how many people felt like this would be a better situation for him, and now he's thriving. So that's just another kind of argument as far as, it's the organization that ruins the quarterback more than the quarterback failing the organization.
Yep, and I don't understand why people don't understand sunken costs. There were people that saying, "Well, no, you can't fire them. Let them coach and GM a whole nother year, and then you don't want to be paying two people." It's sunken costs, dude. You're still gonna if you let him GM and let him coach another year. That's another year they're ruining people. I saw Malik Neighbors in the hallway having a kumbaya session with Antonio Pierce and Odell Beckham online. What do you think that was about? It was about the offense. What do you think all of that? It's about the offense. And I'm telling you, the Giants have made a crucial mistake. And now this would be 2 years in a row. If the season stopped right now, that kid would be the MVP. They lost 2 straight MVPs in a row. Come on now. Come on. It's something else going on in New York. Check out Tyler Rowland early in the morning on Locked On NFL. The Madman will wake you up like a double shot of espresso. We'll slide right back here tomorrow again here on Locked On NFL. As always, man, we thank you for spending 31 minutes with us. We do not take your time for granted. We'll see you next time on Locked On NFL.